Back down here at Mohawk Power Sports, we're here to pick up the UForce. What's going on, boss man?
Picking yours up.
Yeah, so I burn it up, huh? That's how I roll.
What's up?
What's going on, buddy? Say hey, dog. There she is. Come on down. Hey now, Tonio. Thanks for tuning in, turning on. So we've got the UForce back now. We've brought it back home from the dealership and come to find out that the only real problem with the UForce was me. I fried it. We'll go outside and take a look and see what we did. All right, boys and girls, Tonio in with you. So we have the UForce back now. And much like the problem that a lot of other people were having, I was having the problem with the injector number 2, the wire that goes to that injector. However, my problem was not the same as everyone else's. If you watched my last video, you know we were having an issue with the UForce, where when I was giving it gas, it was losing power. So it was like the more gas I gave it, the more it bogged down, what I call bogged down, or losing power. Come to find out, what the issue was is how I had my amplifier and my whip lights hooked up on the UForce. So let me tell you what I did wrong and what went wrong with my UForce so that you don't make the same mistake, okay? Okay, so we're inside the engine bay here, and this is the driver's side. My dealer actually eliminated this connector here. You'll have a little connector that's coming along this wiring loom that looks sort of just like this connector here that's on your injector number 2, but it's not hooked to anything. And you have accessory power on that wire. So what I did, that box you see there, that goes to my whip lights. So I had my whip lights, and you see that blue wire? That blue wire is the remote wire for my amp. The amp I've never showed you guys yet. I'll show that to you today. It's not hooked up any longer, but I had them going into this as your main wiring harness, right? So I heard rednecks say that, hey, this wire goes to your ECU. You don't want to hook things up. So I said, oh, eventually I'll disconnect it, right? Well, what happened in my case, these wires got too hot, and it ended up melting the wire going into my injector 2. So what my dealer had to do was basically make me a new connector, redo the wires. We disconnected all that stuff that we had over there, and he basically put it back together. This saved me probably from a $2,000 job. So here's a look at it again, where you've got the empty box there. That's where everything comes in from your main wiring harness. Now actually I had this mounted down over on the side, but when my dealer disconnected everything here, he kind of just put that up there on the top. I just gave a perfect example. We didn't destroy the ECU, but we did mess up injector number 2. So I was having a similar problem that other people have had when that wire comes apart, but my problem was from user error, all right? So somebody asked me about my whip lights and how they're up there and you're able to open the trunk. Well, this is how it is. So these are out right now, but if you look under here, it's like a little channel under each one of these things. This wire actually goes under the channel. So that's the wire coming from the whip lights on the passenger side, comes over here. Whip lights on the driver's side go down in here. They all come like out the bottom there, and then they're able to stow. When you close the lid, they perfectly go right down in that hole, and you don't have to disconnect the lights every time you want to open the door or the bed, but you can disconnect the lights right there. So needless to say, we will be using the accessory bank that's up in the front of the machine to go ahead and wire all that stuff back up. The good news is we didn't have a $2,000 job, but at the end of the day, this little boo-boo Then it ended up costing me around $500. Basically, we had about $500 labor. They didn't charge me for any materials. They just had a little wire. So they didn't charge me for any materials. I'm right at 1,064 miles. So we went ahead and did the 1,200 mile service on this, where we greased up everything. That is one little thing I want to mention though. Super ATV A-arms, I absolutely love them, but my front suspension has been so noisy since I got these. And even though they've greased everything up, you can still slightly hear it. And my gosh, when I say they greased things up, boy, they greased it up, didn't they? But this was they greased everything, changed the differential oil and all that good stuff in this service that they did this time. But yeah, these are really loud. Not as loud now. Another thing I hate is that I got this machine back in April. Maybe it was the end of March, 1st of April. And yeah, I don't keep it in the garage, but it is generally covered. And, you know, the rust, everything factory, it's just a lot of rust. And the black, it doesn't stay black, it gets ashy. That's what I call it, ashy, really, really fast. But if you're wondering what one of these will look like if you keep it outside, at about 1,000, like I said, I got 1,064 miles on this one so far. I think we're somewhere around, do I have my key on me? Maybe like 17 hours, we'll take a look at it. But 1,064 miles, other than your black, both the plastics and the metal, not staying really black. Other than that, it's been a really trustworthy machine. I haven't had any issues other than the one we're speaking of now that I caused myself. But outside of that, still totally loving the UForce. So, lesson of today, do not wire your accessories into that power wire in the back. Yes, it may be going to, it may be ignition power, but it's your main harness. And I was lucky, I didn't tear up the ECU, but I did burn up my wires to the injector too. So that's the problem we were having. But until next time, I am Tony O. Peace.